Mr. Fairbanks, go ahead if you wouldn't mind. Start with what happened, what's been happening with you, and what happened a couple weeks ago.
Well, in the original email I sent, I kind of started it to explain basically, like I said, I was out kind of searching for an apartment. I work in the area. My goddaughters live in the area, and they spend a lot of time with me. And my son was looking to move in with me possibly. And I have two jobs. One of them was for OPS. Another one was working overnights, a few nights a week, in the halfway house that I was working at. So I had wanted to make sure, because there were going to be certain nights, my teenage son and goddaughters would be left alone. I just said, I better check to make sure right here in this big direct area there isn't a convicted sex offender, so to speak, living right next door or something, because I would be home every night. And it turned out there was. I've actually looked at three places that I was pretty serious on, and it turned out that all three places had a sex offender living literally within a house or two from. I think that's a bigger question about North Omaha and I guess how they were congregated in that area, the reason why. But anyway, I never really got back to looking at him. I decided, I was hoping when I first saw it that maybe it was old, the information was old, that maybe he didn't live there or anything, because I really wanted to rent the place. So I went back honestly just to see if perhaps there was a whole different family in there, and the information wasn't accurate. When I drove back by the next day, like I said in the email, I saw him. There was no mistaking him. I mean, he's a really large man, over 6 foot, over 300 pounds, standing there. And at first I thought he was washing his truck, but then I just noticed a group of kids that were playing. I don't know if anybody noticed, but there was an empty house right next door, and they were playing in the driveway of the empty house right next door. And he was just kind of standing there staring at him and pretending, in my opinion, to wash his truck. He had no soap, no water. He just had a rag, and the only time he even really touched the rag to the truck was when one of the kids would turn and really stare at him, or when a car would drive by, he would just start pretending to wipe his truck down. And I mean, I was obviously in full-blown panic mode. I was just, oh my gosh, I can't believe what I'm watching right now. And I can't really describe it. I just knew the way he was watching those kids, and for the intensity and the length. It wasn't, you or I might see a group of kids playing and maybe take a second to remember what it was like to be that age and carefree and having fun and then go on doing what we're doing. That's not what he was doing. I knew there was some, so I just kind of sat there for, it had to be close to 10 minutes, hoping that the kids would leave. I didn't want to leave until I made sure the kids left. And sure enough, they ended up leaving. And the second they left, he threw the rag in the back of the truck and went walking inside. And I just couldn't believe what I had witnessed. And I went home, wondering who to call, what to do. And then I'm realizing as I'm thinking these things, there is nobody to call. What am I going to call and say I saw a man staring at kids? Even though he is a twice convicted sex offender, I know there's no technical rules about that. But as I went to leave, I was driving off, and then I saw the playground in his backyard, and that just absolutely kind of blew my mind that a twice convicted sex offender, who I know couldn't have any contact with children, it's on his registry information, has a huge playground in his backyard with no fence. And I just went home, and I felt sick, honestly. That night, all night, my stomach was in knots. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. I was just thinking about it. As I mentioned in the email, I've worked with kids my entire life. I've had personal experience. When I was a kid, I personally wasn't molested, but a loved one was, and I don't want to get into that too much because they have chosen not to speak about it, so I don't want to speak for them, but I witnessed it, and the situation happened, and then again, like I said, when working, I've watched the kids over the years that I've worked with. Just so many of them confide in me the torment, the pain that they're going through with their abuse that they've suffered. And I've watched them grow up and become drug addicts and just have no self-worth. And I've seen, the lifelong suffering that so many of these kids endure at that age because I have such firsthand knowledge. I mean, I think I was just like it was bothering me. Like I said, for the next couple of days, I sat on it. I thought about all the things I could do that would maybe help. I thought about going back. Actually, I went back a couple times to look for the kids and go and knock on see if I could find out which houses were theirs and knock on their doors and tell their parents, might want to have these kids not as close to this guy. And this is what I saw. I couldn't make that connection over a couple of days. I couldn't figure out which kids were in which houses. And finally, it just dawned on me, like, I feel like I need to do something. This has to stop. Oh, yeah, and as I'm doing at home for those couple of days, I'm researching this specific guy, and I'm reading about his crimes, the 5-year-old boy that he molested in Florida that grew up addicted to drugs, which, like I said, I'd seen 100 times before. His mom was talking about, the pain he endured lasted the rest of his life until he overdosed on drugs. I read about the 13-year-old, I didn't read the details, but the 13-year-old in Papillion that he had sexually assaulted. At the time, I knew that if there were 2 convictions, there were dozens more. I mean, that's just the statistics with these guys. And sure enough, since he died, dozens more have literally come out and contacted our family and talked about their stories and want to express what they went through. And very recent too. Within the last few months, victims of his have come forward and contacted us. And I already knew that there had to be many, many more. If you've been convicted twice. I also saw on the registry that somebody had stopped by and verified his address with the sheriff's department. I don't remember the exact date, but it was within a couple of weeks or so. And it just blew my mind. They had to see this giant playground in his backyard, and apparently nobody was going to say anything or do anything. And again, that's a bigger issue, but I was wondering, is this because it's 43rd and Pinckney? Would this have been allowed on 170th and Maple? Could this guy get moved into a house by himself and threw a playground up in his backyard and nobody stopped by to say you can't do that or anything? I didn't feel like there was, like I said, anybody I could turn to with all this, so I decided I was going to go over there and threaten him, basically. Was my intention to go over there and let him know, look, I know who you are. I watched you the other day. If you touch any of these kids, you're not going to get another slap on the wrist from the justice system. I'm coming next time. Next time you touch one of these kids, you're going to deal with me. I brought a gun, as I said, obviously. I approached his house. He opened the door. He saw me coming. I pulled the gun out. I told him to back up, and I went to have the conversation, or basically just to tell him exactly what I just said. Look, you touch those kids, there's going to be some punishment that's going to come, and it's not going to be another probation or slap on the wrist or anything like that. As soon as I started talking, he came forward, and immediately, again, he was a 6 foot, 300 plus pound man. I knew I had to shoot, or who knows what was going to happen. Again, I'm willing to take responsibility for the fact that I went over to his house with a gun to threaten him, and what happened and what transpired. My intention was not to walk over there and just shoot him, period. That's what ended up happening, and I understand there's consequences for that, but I also I want to point out a couple of things also, and that is I've been deeply grateful and appreciate all the support that I've received from the Free James Fairbanks campaigns and the petitions and all of those things online. I am asking, though, that those people channel their efforts elsewhere to changing these laws, to actually doing something other than freeing me. I can handle whatever I have coming my way, and if the whole point of all of this is I just get off, then I think we missed a chance to actually do something, and that's take this momentum that seems to be out there and freeing me and channeling it to the district attorney and the judges and the legislators and go, We need tougher penalties. We need to stop cutting these deals that allow men like him to molest children for decades and only serve minimum sentences and be allowed to move right back into our neighborhoods alone and put up playgrounds in their backyards and just look for their next victims. I wish the DA would go after them the way they're going after me. To be perfectly honest, I get no bail. I'm first degree. I'm in jail with a whole bunch of guys in here that are getting prosecuted for not raping children, and they're getting prosecuted harder than a lot of the times we see child molesters. And why that is in the justice system, I don't know. It's got to stop, though, and it's got to change. Quite honestly, I don't think me and Mr. Condalucci should have ever come in contact. You should have been there. You're a repeat sex offender. You just shouldn't be alone living amongst kids in a neighborhood. At that point, you should be either in prison or in some kind of sex offender home. I have friends that are in the drug and alcohol programs, and they're graduates of programs, and they live together. And I just don't understand why we allow sex offenders, of all people, to just live alone in their neighborhoods and kind of run and do whatever they want, seemingly unsupervised, because if he's being supervised and he's allowed to throw up a playground in his backyard and sit there in his driveway, in my opinion, picking out his next victims, then there's something really wrong with the system. Again, and sorry, I have a couple of notes here. I just want to make sure I hit a couple of more things. I'll gladly change my plea if any kind of the district attorney will at least agree to look into their own practices of these deals. I know if a state legislature will propose a bill, and I don't mean it has to get voted on and approved and become law. I mean, the second something like that happens, I'll gladly take responsibility for my role in this and step out of the way and let the people of Nebraska, the people that are supporting me, finish kind of getting that intact so we can help better protect our children. I just don't want all the people that are behind me, and again, the letters I received, the petitions, everything is just, it's wonderful. It's just, I'm okay. This isn't about me. Needs to be about protecting the kids. Otherwise, my kids and grandkids are going to grow up here, and it's going to be the exact same things that they're going to have to deal with growing up that people like Mr. Condalucci have always been doing. And again, that's about all I got. That's the points I want to make. If you want to ask any questions.
So when you went over there, you said you weren't even able to get out what you wanted to say to him before he started coming towards you?
Again, my lawyer's probably going to be upset because I'm not sure how much of this he would like me to say, but the truth is I walked in, he opened up the screen door as I was walking up. He walked in, I started the sentence, and then, honestly, I noticed a woman's purse on the couch, and that threw me completely off. I was very sure he was alone. Turned out he was, apparently, because nobody called the police for a couple of days, nobody reported anything. But I saw that, and I kind of froze, and I started stuttering, to be honest. I think I got out. I know who you are. I know what you've done. And then I noticed the woman's purse, and then he, I think, took that as a chance to run at me because I seemed to be, caught for a second, not understand. I didn't want to do this do whatever it was going to end up happening, or have this conversation, or obviously be there and there would be an innocent victim. That was also in there. Again, I believe it was dark, but I believe it was a woman's purse. I could be wrong. Only the police and the DA, I guess, could really say that. But that's what I thought I saw, and that made me pause. And I think, again, he took my pause as a chance to kind of come at me.
The Condalucci's daughter, I've interviewed her a couple of times, talked to her in person on the phone. She says she 100% supports you. And how do you feel about that?
I mean, it's both amazing and not surprising at the same time. I mean, I know the pain she's had to endure. I've watched it again with loved ones with kids. I feel horrible for her. I'm sure this brought up a lot of torment to the forefront that maybe she was working through, and this brought it all up. I don't know. I haven't had a chance to speak to her, but Um, I can't even imagine what she's had to go through, having that monster be her father, and then all this. But I definitely appreciate her support.
A lot of people have talked about vigilante justice. Do you believe what happened here was vigilante justice? Was that your point?
I've heard that. I don't know. No. I mean, I was a guy who honestly thought he was protecting a few kids from getting sexually assaulted by a predator that was setting them up or stalking them. As far as vigilante, I mean, I get the arguments on both sides that this has to be stopped. Obviously, I get that. I also get the argument that we can't have everybody just picking up guns and going and executing sexual offenders. So I do understand. As far as vigilante justice, I just, like I said, I saw some kids I thought were going to be hurt, and I decided to try to do something to stop it. That's as far as I get into what you want to label it as.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've also done another story on with a sex offender, a convicted sex offender, who says that now they're afraid because their names and addresses are posted online for anybody to come do that. Well, what would you say to others who are seeing sex offenders living in their area and upset about that?
Well, as far as the sex offenders that are upset, or maybe they feel in fear or scared, vulnerable because of what I did, congratulations, now you know what your victims feel like. I don't really care. Deal with it. You decided to make those decisions. Now you can live with the consequences of your decisions. As far as other people that have them living in their neighborhoods, honestly, watch out, because if you're not as informed as I am on these, if you have a guy that's convicted, there are very high likelihood that there's many, many more victims, and their chances of reoffending are extremely high. So I mean, just be vigilant and keep your kids away, definitely. In this situation, I didn't feel, and again, that's a larger conversation about the neighborhood that he was in. I didn't feel there was the community continuity. I live there, I spend my time in North Omaha. The community continuity to just raise awareness in the neighborhood about this guy, and that was one of the reasons why I decided to act. But I don't know that that's true in every neighborhood.
What would you like people to know about you? Is there anything else you want people to know about you?
I mean, this is extremely out of character. For me, I've never done anything like this before. I just hope they know that it wasn't a rash decision. It wasn't a decision to go over there and just kill somebody. It was a decision. I've taken it very personally because, like I said, my own life experiences and the damage I've seen this abuse do to kids, and I honestly didn't know how I was going to take if, a month later I saw his face on the news and there was another victim, and I knew, and I didn't do anything. And this time I actually knew, or have heard it afterwards so many times, it's been helpless to stop it. This time I knew what he was planning, and I just felt like I could not sit back and find out later that he did something and I didn't do anything.
Yeah. How do you feel about the support with so many people sending you letters and as well as putting money on your books here at the Douglas County Jail, showing you that kind of support?
I mean, it's been, like I said, it's been wonderful. I've read letters from 17-year-old kids that were abused in their growing up, and all the way up to people in their 60s that have sent me letters and have said, thank you. I'm glad. I know one of the 17-year-old girls said, even though he wasn't my perpetrator, I felt relief. And if there is any, and again, I understand the murkiness of it as far as the vigilante, and this isn't the way to go, but I mean, if it did bring relief and inspired anybody to, or help anybody, I'm glad, but more than anything, I want them to channel that, stopping them in the future. And, I pretty much write everybody that's written me a letter back, and I tell them those exact words: is thank you so much, and please feel free to write me anytime, but also make sure you're writing your legislators and your district attorneys, and you're calling them and letting them know, because again, freeing me is not the point. If I wanted to be free, I think if the district attorney's being honest, once the evidence is all looked at, I would be. I don't believe they would have ever connected me with Mr. Condalucci and what happened that night. I sent an email out because the point wasn't to free me. The point was to get people where after the incident happened, I felt a minor bit of relief for those kids, and then I just thought, it's not a real impact. I mean, honestly, it's not. There's still, hundreds of more in the neighborhood. I mean, they're everywhere up in North Omaha, everywhere all over the city, I'm sure. I talk about North Omaha because that's where I live, and and obviously I couldn't, and I wouldn't want to, and I don't want other people to just pick up guns and do it the way I did. I knew in order to make the real change, it had to get back to the legislator, the district attorney's office, and I just felt like maybe I could use this incident, even though it didn't go the way I wanted it to go, as a positive in the end, and try to make this all be worth something. And again, that's more important to me than getting out of here.
Yeah, I mean, what have you kind of told yourself? I mean, at this point, because seemingly you may be in jail at least for quite some time before trial, and who knows what happens after that.
My hope is the district attorney or a state legislator, like I said, proposes or at least promises to do reviews of the current laws and how they and their system of plea bargains with child molesters, and then I hope I can make a deal with the prosecution that allows me to take accountability for what I did, and also takes into account who he was and what my motives were. But that's again less important to me. If I'm in prison for the rest of my life and these laws get changed, I'm okay with that. I can sleep at night.
Okay. James, thank you. Is there anything else that you wanted to add that we didn't talk about?
No, I think that's about it. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And I want to confirm you did write the anonymous email to us.
Okay. I did, and I know I got pulled over in Burke County. The DA mentioned that in my bail.
Your bond
thing,
review, yeah.
Bond review, yeah. I just wanted to make it clear. I had sent the email. I had every intention of turning myself in that night. I was on my way to see Branched Oak Lake, which my family and I lived there for 4 years. It was kind of the last time my family was all together before the divorce happened and everything. Just kind of wanted to see it one more time, and then I was turning around and driving to Douglas County when I got pulled over. But anyway, it was every intention of turning myself in and facing this. And honestly, what you said, also, I don't believe, as far as me spending the rest of my life in prison, if the DA and I can't come to a deal, I don't believe I will spend the rest of my life in prison. I don't believe that the DA is going to be able to find 12 Omahans that are going to be willing to send me to prison for the rest of my life for stopping him from raping more kids and assaulting more kids. I just don't. And if I'm wrong on that, then again, I can sleep at night. I'll raise as much awareness of the greater issue. The bigger reason I would rather take the plea is to get out of the way and let the focus be more on changing the laws and not on, I'm done, I've been sentenced, I've taken a plea, and now we can focus on changing the system and not spend the next year and a half focusing on me.
Some people
But if it does come to the trial, I'll raise as much awareness as I can for the next year and a half, 2 years, however long it's for trial, and then take my chances that I don't believe the DA will be able to find 12 Omahans to send me away for the rest of my life.
Some people have called you a hero. What do you think about that? Do you think you're a hero?
No. I appreciate, again, I don't even really want to
That's
But yeah, no, that's about all I got.
okay. Well, James,
I could be wrong, but I just, like I said, I feel like with the support that's out there, I have a good chance of raising the awareness with all this and actually, again, kind of handing off the football and allowing the people of Omaha to take it and cross the finish line and get these laws changed. Like I said, I'd rather not be a martyr than be a martyr if it was possible, but I'm not willing to sacrifice my freedom for making a larger point, and that's the biggest point I want to get across. So.
mhm.